My soul has been anchored in the Lord. What do those words mean for you? You see, because I bet you if I asked 5 different people in this room, they probably have 5 different understandings of that very phrase. Yesterday morning, I woke up at 7:30 and Bella looked me in the eyes and said, "Dad, you're running with me today, right?" And I said, "What?" You see, she had signed up and has been practicing for the last 8 weeks for Girls on the Run. It is a program that they do in the elementary schools that teach girls the confidence and the strength, and they put them on a 5K marathon to run. And so it's Girls on the Run. It's not Boys and Girls on the Run, or Dads and Girls on the Run, or Kings and Princesses on the Run. It's Girls on the Run. And so I said, "Well, I saw an email about that, but aren't your teachers running with you and your coaches run with you?" And she says, "Yeah, but they really want our parents to run with us too." And I thought, well, somebody could have told me this 8 weeks ago. But if you've met Bella and you've seen those eyes and they just bat at you, "You're running, right, Papa?" And I said, "Sure, I will." So we got up and we drove down to Children's Mercy Park, and there were 7,000 other elementary school girls waiting to run a 5K or 3.2 miles, and my legs were saying, "No way." And not only that, but when I got there, I realized she had bamboozled me because a lot of other parents were not running. But the rule was that every child had to be paired with an adult. So not only did I have to run with Bella, but I had to run with Gwendolyn and Brooklyn and Tessa. And so now I have 6 girls that I have to run a 5K with. And try to keep track of them all. Because the rule was, here are your kids. Make sure that when you leave the starting line, you end up at the finishing line with them. Mind you, one of these is my kid, so I can say speed up, slow down, or whatever. But the other 4 children were other people's children, so was it my job to push them? Was it my job to say keep up? Was it my job to say slow down? Because, see, these girls have been practicing for the last 8 weeks to get the best time possible. And my little legs weren't really going to go the best time possible. But it made me think of, while I was sitting here listening to Bob sing, those girls' souls during that race were anchored in me. Because I had to make sure that I was walking, running, jogging alongside of them, and that they were always in my vision and always in my keep. And when I think about your soul being anchored in the Lord, oftentimes we believe that it's this force outside of ourselves. But I think what that soul for me is that knowing that the small child in me is protected and being watched over at all times. When I say my soul is anchored in the Lord, I am saying that I know deep within me where that child within me resides. I am being very attentive to where that child within me has needs. I'm being very attentive within me of where does that child want to go, and how do I walk alongside, run alongside, or jog alongside to get them there at their pace, or at that soul within me's pace. Our lesson for today is wait for the Lord. Which I think it's interesting because these lessons always fall together when I hear the music and the lessons. I'm thinking, wow, somebody scripted this. And I'm thinking that, yes, that blessed divine spirit that connects us all finds a way to bring it all together. It always does. And many of us have heard the story on the guy that was in a flood and he was standing on top of his house and the water was coming up and a guy came by on a boat and said, "Come on, get in." And the guy said, "Oh, no, I'm waiting on the Lord." And then time passed and the water got even higher and he was sitting on the top part of his roof thinking, "Oh no, the Lord doesn't come quick, I'm going to drown." And a helicopter came by and they dropped the ladder and said, "Come on." He said, No, I'm waiting on the Lord." And then all of a sudden the water got above his head and he drowned. And when he went to heaven, if we're going down that road, he said, "God, where were you?" And God said, who do you think sent the boat and the helicopter? I think that that's the same for me. When I think about waiting for the Lord, what opportunities, what belief systems, what principles, what truths, what powers am I using in my life to make sure that I'm ushering in the highest and best me? And I find that a lot of people I talk to, and I'm not saying you can't be on your own path because we all have our own path, but a lot of people are simply waiting on this Lord outside themselves, and when the things on their outside world don't make sense, they don't have to take any blame for themselves because, oh no, it must be the Lord and He must not want me to have it. And I use the word He very lightly because in my mind the Lord is not a he or a she. The Lord is this thing that powers within me, and it's the thing that powers within you. So what I'm looking at these words, and it says wait for the Lord, I'm realizing that it's not for me anyway. And I always say when I'm standing up here, I'm going to plate this up for you. You decide if you're going to eat it or not. But for me, when it says waiting for the Lord, it is knowing that within me is this sacred peace. And when things get tumultuous, or when I feel like that child in me is way ahead and I've got to catch up, or if I feel that child is running the race way behind me and I've got to slow down, I've got to be aware of the child within me to make sure that I'm getting everything, the best of me, which is my little girl, over the finish line. And that I'm with her the entire way. Now everything was going great. We were running along beautifully. And finally some got tired and some weren't tired. So I made the agreement because every 70 or 80 feet there was a light pole. So I would make the agreement with those who wanted to run. We would run from one light pole to the next light pole. And for those who were tired, we would walk from that light pole to the next. So that we would run and then we would walk. We would run and we would walk, and everything was going great. I stayed 2 steps or 3 steps behind them, and I could read their names on the back of their shirts, and I kept saying, stay together, girls, stay together, girls, stay together, girls. And all of a sudden I looked, and there was 4 girls, not 5. And I turned my left and right, and I didn't see one. And I'm thinking, where did she go? You see, we were doing good. We were on pace. We all knew what we were doing. We all knew where we were going. But all of a sudden, one was missing. Luckily, I noticed it just in time, because what happened was, as we were running, there was somebody handing out waters on the side of the road, and this girl saw water and went to grab it. But we kept going. And so I said, everybody stop. And I turned and I found the young girl that I was responsible for. And I said, the next time you leave us, you've got to tell us, hey, I'm going. And she said, but I needed water. I was thirsty. I said, yeah, but you have to tell me what you're doing, because what would have happened if I would have got to the end and you wouldn't have been with me? And I was so nervous, because it was at that moment that I realized that they weren't anchored to me. I was anchored to them. Because all of my calm went away when I was missing a girl. The anchor was lifted and the boat was shifting in the water, and I didn't have a way, like they say in the Bible, for peace be still, because the only peace I knew was, oh my goodness, I've lost somebody's child. But it was at that moment that I realized how valuable that lesson was. Because oftentimes in life we are going along on a good pace. We are anchored in the Lord. We are anchored in that Christ consciousness. We know we are safe. We know we are secure. And then all of a sudden, something in this outside world grabs our attention, and we gravitate to that, and we forget where we're supposed to be, which is anchored and centered. So my question for you is, what is it in your life right now that is causing you the distraction, that is stopping you from making it to the finish line? What is it in your life that is externally pulling you in, so that those who rely on you and those who are part of your clique or part of your group are now nervous and hesitant because they don't know truly where you are at? And what is it in the lives of others, the people that you cherish, the people that you love, the people that you find yourself responsible for? What is it that's distracting them? And can you at some point predict that, so even when they go in the wrong direction, you know how to say, halt, everybody stop, because we've got another one that needs to be brought back in the fold. So, wait for the Lord means something completely different for me. It means that, one, I am anchored to others, but it also means that others are anchored to me. And those others at moments are the Lord that I need to be with. And for other times, I'm the Lord they need. But I know regardless that if I try to outrun or if I try to go too slow, I'm going to lose sense of my calm because things won't be homeostatic. So we will go to Psalms 27, verse 13 and 14. If you have your Bibles, you can turn there. If you don't, the words are on the screen. Psalms chapter 27, verse 13 and 14. I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I just got done telling you that you have to stay centered. You have to go within. Don't let the external world distract you. And then I bring up